Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today's episode is all about foodstuffs. We've built our gas range here. That way we can have a full listing of items that there are available for our dupes to eat. And the reason why we go gas range is because the gas range by far has the most bang for our calorie buck in terms of morale. You can see you got stuffed berries, surf and turf, pepper bread, spicy tofu, frost burgers, even some mixed berry pies. Now, as far as morale goes, the absolute best is the frost burger. The frost burger is probably the most difficult though because it has the requirement of both the frost bun and lettuce and barbecue. But on the flip side, it gives you an ambrosial level of quality. It also gives you some radiation resistance because it's seafood. On top of that, we've also built the microbe musher. Yeah, the old microbe musher. We haven't used this in a long time, but it actually has one of the most interesting pieces of food, and that is the berry sludge. So what's so good about berry sludge? Well, it has a spoil time of absolutely never. Doesn't matter what you do with it, it doesn't spoil. Put it into some polluted water, won't spoil. Put it into a thing of radiation. Nope, still good. It's not bad. It's actually on par with our barbecue. Now, the berry sludge requires sleet wheat grain and bristleberries. Sleet wheat grain you grow by itself. It requires dirt and water, and you get some sleet wheat. It does have some stringent requirements when it comes to temperature. And the rest is just bristleberry. And we know bristleberry, it just requires water. So why do we care about berry sludge? Well, we have a lot of exploration still to do, and then even once we explore everything, we are going to want to go harvest some minerals, we're going to want to settle on some beautiful asteroids, we're going to want to grab some artifacts, all great things, and for that kind of space travel, berry sludge is the name of the game. But here's the call to action. We know we're going to do berry sludge for our space travel. But what is our long-term food going to be? And this is where I'm going to leave it up to you and in the comments. You tell me what food we should live off for the rest of the days. Doesn't matter what it is. You let me know and that's what we'll make. You want stuffed berry? We're going with stuffed berries. You want spicy tofu? We're going with spicy tofu. We'll figure it out. We know we can't stay on hatches because of our infinite supply of igneous rock will only feed, I believe we said, enough food for 7 dupes. So we'll probably always keep hatches around because they'll provide our infinite source of coal. And we have a requirement for coal because it's our secondary source of power right after geothermal. So it's all up to you. What kind of food we're going with. For today's episode, we're going to concentrate on the berry sludge. Then we'll find out what kind of food we're going once everybody in the comments tells me. But for berry sludge, it requires the sleet wheat grain and the bristleberry. The bristleberry is pretty easy. They come right off the bristle blossom, and the bristle blossom's not too bad. It does require 20 kilos of water every single cycle, not too big of a deal, and the temperature range is from 5 to 30. Easy peasy, not too bad. Now the sleet wheat grain, oh, that's another story. Its max temperature is 5, and it's willing to go all the way down to minus 55, and it takes 18 cycles to grow. So I think step 1 in our process is to make a small greenhouse for our sleet wheat and our bristle blossoms. Now our only requirement for that is we probably want to keep it close to the transit tube, and that way our folks can come work those farm plots. We are going to automate it as much as possible, but there'll still be some dupe labor. So I'm thinking right about here. Because the sleet wheat grain has to get down to the minimum of 5 degrees, we're going to need a cooling device. So we're going to throw our typical thermo aqua tuner and steam turbine here to cool this down to between 0 and 5 degrees. And it's got to be very, very precise. Why is that? Because remember, our sleet wheat grain requires the use of water. Yet, if the water gets below 0 degrees, what happens? It'll freeze in the pipes. We don't want the water to freeze in the pipes, So our goal is to keep the water between 0 and 5. So for comfort's sake, we're going to say between 2 degrees and 4 degrees. That is a very narrow margin to shoot for, but I think we got it. The bristle blossoms, on the other hand, they still need to stay cool under 30 degrees, and you can see right now this area is around 35. But unlike the sleet wheat, it can only go down to 5 degrees, so from 5 to 30. So we'll put one cooling loop in here, but we'll have a switch on it, so if this is cold enough, it's not going to send the coolant through here. While the dupes are working on that, I wanted to show you how successful our rad bolt generation has been. We have our little nuclear waste here that's been piling up. The reason why we've been able to save so much nuclear waste is because we have a coolant loop going through here attempting to maintain 30 degrees. That's what we have this liquid pipe thermosensor set on. So this thermo aqua tuner will only cool that coolant down to 30. The reason why that's important is because nuclear fallout, that's the nuclear waste in the gas form, turns into a liquid anything under 66.9 degrees. So the thinking is, hey, just let's keep the gas below 67 degrees and then it'll turn into our nice liquid. The difficult thing is the nuclear waste turns into a solid at 26 degrees. We don't have a huge margin here, only about 20-30 degrees. We want this nuclear waste to stay to be a liquid. Why? Because it holds radiation so well. You can see right now, even though we haven't launched this rocket in several cycles, it is still off-putting 560 rads per cycle, enough to where we have about 27,000 rad bolts in this one generator. Very nice. Because we're looking at the long-term water usage, I think it's about time to drop this tank and combine it with this large tank here. We're also going to have to make sure that any polluted water that comes out of here gets cleaned, so that means another water sieve. Now dropping this is pretty easy. Just a couple of destroyed tiles and all of that will drop. Now remember, if you will though, the backup for our water supply that is feeding our oxygen is coming from that polluted water tank. So we are going to need to make sure that we have that backup supply now connected to this tank. We've started off using our second pump now, and this second liquid pump will come all the way up here. It'll source our backup water to our oxygen supply, and it'll also eventually feed our berry blossoms and sleet wheat. There's that beautiful water drop now. As you can see, the physics are they're not having the greatest time in the world keeping up here in cycle 913. It's only going to get worse the more colonies we start, but it'll be okay. So I think we have the plumbing for the farms figured out. We got the water sieve here. It's drawing water all the way from down here. The water sieve is going to clean all the water, whether it's polluted or clean, and this water is going to head off as our secondary supply to our oxygen. Additionally, it'll also be responsible for keeping the plants watered. Now our coolant is a somewhat little complicated loop. This thermo aqua tuner is set on 2 degrees. So ultimately, when this petroleum hits equilibrium, it'll be 2 degrees. Now, invariably, it's going to get colder because, for instance, if the coolant comes in at 3 degrees, it's going to say, hey, I need to cool it, and it's going to cool it by 14 degrees. It's going to be sort of a give and take with the coolant. But the idea is that we'll settle at 2 degrees. When that happens, all the cold petroleum is going to come through the sleet wheat stable first and dump off its coolant here. Now we have a thermosensor down in the berry blossom farm. It's set to 25 degrees. When this farm is above 25 degrees, it sends a green light to this liquid shutoff, which allows coolant through it. The coolant will then pass through the bristleberry farm and cool it down. If it's below 25 degrees and cold enough, the liquid shutoff will turn off and then allow the water to bypass. And that's what this is. All these lines that are not going through the stables are all made out of insulated liquid pipe. We don't want any temperature fluctuations unless we ask for it. Now we're at the stage where we're filling up the thermo aqua tuner's sort of water bath. You know this can be hit and miss. As you can see, I had 400 kilos of water in here, and when we dumped in the polluted water, because of the gas situation here, it didn't care. So give me a few minutes while I fill this back up with water, and away we go. While the dupes are doing the painstaking task of filling up our thermo aqua tuner bath, I figured it'd be a good time to go over the berry sludge math. Hang with me here, we're going with YouTube math again. Berry sludges produce 4,000 calories, and I figured that's a decent number. I think our average away team on these missions might get as high as 4 duplicants. So we want to be able to produce 1 berry sludge per cycle. So 1 berry sludge per cycle will feed 4 duplicants. Alright, so what does it take to get 1 berry sludge per cycle? Well, the bristle blossoms is rather easy. We need 1 bristle berry per cycle. And we know bristle blossoms take 6 cycles. Okay, that's pretty easy. We need 6 bristle blossom plants. Sleet wheat grain is a little different. It takes 18 cycles to grow. But when it finally harvests, it produces 18 sleet wheat grain. So your ratio that you want to remember with sleet wheat is you get 1 grain per cycle per plant. Considering that we need 5 sleet wheats, we now know that we need 5 sleet wheat grain plants growing at all times. 5 sleet wheat grains and 6 bristle blossoms will give us 1 berry sludge per cycle. Now, we put 6 and 7 because we don't want to get too precise with the math. It's always good to have a little bit of extra. We've installed the lights on the bristleberry farms. Now all we're waiting for is the thermal aqua tuner bath. You can see we just went to the second tile, so it's about time to start throwing in some brine. You can see the liquid doesn't always do what you want. You'd really rather the polluted water to come down to this tile and it would push all the water up. We're close enough. Let's go ahead and switch up to brine. Okay, mistakes were made. So apparently the thermosensor can't be right here because then obviously our bristleberry will not be able to grow there. So we will move the thermosensor. The key is though, I don't want the thermosensor to be above the radiant liquid pipes. I don't want the thermosensor to be fooled by the coolant in the radiant liquid pipe. In other words, it might be cooler up here than it is down here. So we're going to move the thermosensor down a little bit lower. And it's a good thing we caught that too, because otherwise the thermosensor would be telling this light when to turn on and off. Same thing for this. But we can fix that with an easy bridge. Haven't used the automation bridge very often, but it does come in handy. Another quick fix that must happen. On the light bulb, I'm used to the light coming all the way down here. Well, you can see this bristle blossom doesn't have any illumination. So we actually need to pack them a little closer together so they all get illuminated at the second level here. Yeah, I've never seen it happen like this. The vacuums are stuck in the corners. Hey, it's good for us. But it looks like we're going to have our complete seal here. Beautiful. Yeah, very weird. Never seen that, but now we can turn our aqua tuner on. So you know that save glitch where if you're doing something and it starts saving and then it copies itself 1,000 times? Yeah, well, we've got bad news. It sent a deconstruct command all the way down here. Oh, this is going to take a minute. Luckily, my deconstruct is on buildings. Unluckily, our drowning chamber has been destroyed. Another modification we made to the plumbing of our farms is every once in a while, there's a glob of brine. This is because from way back when, there's just a little bit of brine left in this tank. So in the meantime, we're just going to pay the filter cost. The water's going to come in here, see if it's brine. If it's brine, it's going to come all the way up here and then go out this way. If it's not brine, it's going to come and get cleaned and then go to our crops. Eventually in this tank, there'll be no brine left, and then we can remove the filter. But that is a very easy 120 watts to pay. Otherwise, we'd have to keep emptying these and refilling them, doing a little bit of damage control from it, but I think we're about good. Alright, I think we're about set. Check it out, we got our auto sweeper, our storage bin full of dirt. Now all we need is sleet wheat. Oh, that's right. We don't have any sleet wheat here. But you know who does have sleet wheat? Smelliel. And it's got an absolute ton of sleet wheat. Here's 144 of them right here. Oh, Ironhide. Time to take another trip, buddy. Right now, Ironhide's cussing me. I know he is. He knows where he's going. Welcome back, buddy! Ironhide has a pretty simple mission this time. He's coming over here, he's grabbing these sleet wheat, and he's going to take that beautiful sleet wheat and just drop it right here into the yield conveyor loader. Come on, buddy. The sooner you finish, the sooner you can go home. Look, I understand that sounds like indentured servitude, but look, they're dupes. That's all their whole life is. And off our beautiful sleet wheat goes. Nice job, buddy. And before we teleport old Ironhide away, I made sure we saved, because last time it crashed the game a couple times. Look at that. Not too bad of a round trip. All inside of one cycle. And there's our fresh sleet wheat grain right there. Still deep frozen, too. We've lowered the radiant liquid pipe by 2 tiles. That way it's closer to the hydroponic farm tiles and the incoming water. In this way, it keeps the farm tiles at a more constant temperature, and it also will pre-chill the water coming in through these liquid pipes. The second thing we did was added some more beautiful automation. Hooked up a couple of conveyor loaders, and it takes all the bristleberries and all the sleet wheats and drops them right down into our deep freeze. This auto sweeper reaches into the deep freezer, loads up the microbe musher, and eventually gives us all that beautiful berry sludge. We don't want the dupes inside of our base to eat the berry sludge, because you can see it gives you +8 morale just like the barbecue does, so they're just as likely to eat berry sludge as they are barbecue. For that reason, we've turned berry sludge off on all the dupes. When the time comes to eat berry sludge, well, we'll activate it for those space dupes that actually need it. Now that we have our fresh and never going off berry sludge, we can turn our attention to exploring the rest of the galaxy. And that'll be next time. Remember to also leave your comments below to see what kind of food you'd like us to make. Now, none of it's probably easy. Some of it we just don't have the supplies for yet. But we have an entire star map to explore to go find it. So let us know. Remember, your options are stuffed berry, surf and turf, pepper bread, spicy tofu, frost burger, and the mixed berry pie. I hope you had fun in this episode. I know I did. We'll talk to you soon.